Hi, my name is Zachary King. In a nutshell, I was a Satanist for 26 plus years. I'm going to give you a little bit of my history and then tell you what amazing thing happened to my life. Now, first, I'd like to say that the devil is real. Do not think this is a figment of somebody's imagination, or that the Bible is wrong, or that the Bible is lying, because there's nothing in the Bible that's incorrect. The devil is very real. But do not fear the biggest idiot in the room. And the devil is the biggest idiot in the room, no matter who's in the room with you. I got started when I was 10 years old. Young, right? At 10 years old, I wanted to know if magic worked. Is that something I can really do? So I started trying to practice magic in real life to see, because I played Dungeons and Dragons, and magic works in that, but that's a game. And at the same time, I was playing the Bloody Mary game, and you chant a phrase into a mirror and you're waiting for a scary face to show up. And I'm not sure if that's magic or not. So I decided to do a spell for money, see what happens. And I did this spell for money, and I found a can of tennis balls with $5 bill in it. All right, but could have been a coincidence. So the next weekend I did it again, and I found a $10 bill on the side of the road. So then I did it a third time, and I did it in the bathroom at home. And when I had gone about halfway into the spell, I did the Bloody Mary chant. And when the demonic face showed up, I let it know I was doing a spell for money. Then I finished out my money spell, and the next day I went out to play. I always did my spells on Friday, and then Saturday was a play day for me. So I went out and I found what looked like Monopoly money rolled up tight in rubber bands. I stuck it in my pocket and went about playing. Later that night, I unraveled what I had to see what I found. I had never seen, it looked like Monopoly money because I had never seen a $100 bill. And when I unraveled all of them, I had 10 $100 bills. So I'm worth $1,000. I'm 10 years old, and I know for a fact that magic works. So I start dedicating my life to magic. At 12 years old, I joined a satanic coven. Now, when I first joined, I didn't know it was a satanic coven. I thought it was just a bunch of people that got together and had fun. You know, like at my house, I could have 3 meals a day and a snack if my mom's in a good mood. But there, I could have 9 meals a day. I could live on Snicker bars. I could have pizza every day. You know, anything I wanted to do, I could do. You know, I was a victim of a sexual assault when I was 11 at the hands of a female teacher. When I was 12, they told me that what happened to me when I was 11 was horrible, but now I could get my power back. And they had me star in child pornography. I didn't know that it was wrong, and they let me do whatever I wanted. And I did that for 4.5 years. When I was 14 years old, I committed my first assisted abortion, and I thought, this is definitely what I want to do. I didn't realize exactly that I was killing a baby. It was just something you did in magic. You know, if you were going to do a hex, you had to do an abortion. And I thought, okay, well, that's the way things are. When I was 18 years old, I graduated from high school, and I was going on to college, and I was thinking I wanted to join another satanic coven, but how am I going to find one? They're not going to advertise it in the town square. Well, I found it because they advertised it in the town square. I was able to go to this new satanic coven called World Church of Satan, or Satan's World Church, and I started going to that, and at the first party I went to, it's about 10,000 people, there was this guy there dressed in a tuxedo and corpse paint on his face and had a wand. And I grabbed somebody near me. I said, who's that? What is that? How can I do that? And they said, well, who runs your coven where you're from? And I said, we have a large coven. It's 120 to 150 members, and we're run by 13 high priests and priestesses. And he says, oh, that's pretty big, yeah. Well, here we have 1.1 million members worldwide, and we're run by a CEO and board of directors, and we have a bunch of high wizards, and they do the official magic of the coven. Well, that's what I wanted to do. I've been doing magic since I was 10 years old. I was one of the magic practitioners at my previous coven, and now if I could be the high wizard, that would be awesome. But I didn't know how to do it. And I figured that if I got the devil's attention, because I heard that the high wizard position is handpicked by the devil. So I've just got to get the devil's attention. Well, abortion was my number one way to do that, because I know what could be more diabolical than murdering an innocent baby still in the womb. It hasn't committed any sins yet, and it's just pure innocence. And God's got to love babies. So the devil's got to set out to kill them. So I started doing multiple abortions to get the devil's attention. When I was 21 years old, I got a letter that I was called before the CEO and board of directors. And I didn't know why, but I thought, all right, so let me do that. And so I went in there. I was kind of apprehensive, because a lot of times when people get called in like that, they're never heard from again. And so I went to this meeting, and they told me that I was going to be chosen to be the next high wizard. And they showed me all these costumes on the wall, different face painting ideas, and they gave me a high wizard handbook. And I opened it up, and it said on the first page, "No one can tell you what to do." Oh yeah, this is the job for me. No one can tell me what to do. I get to do anything I want. I can dress like that. I just thought, you look like a member of KISS wearing a tuxedo. I thought, that's awesome looking. I want to do that. Now, if you're wondering what that looks like, if you go on YouTube and look up an artist named Pink, and she has a song titled Like a Pill, if you look that up, she has a high wizard in her video 4 times. So that was my look. That's not me in the video, but that's my look. And I thought, this is me. This is going to be me for the rest of my life. So I started doing that. Now, as a high wizard, I helped split over 100 churches. I committed 146 assisted abortions. I helped make 1,200 people rock stars. I help people sell their souls. By the way, if you think you've sold your soul, you haven't. It's impossible to sell what you don't own. You may remember that Jesus died on the cross for you. He owns your soul, not you. Now, the devil will lie to you because that's what he does. He's a liar. But all you have to do to get your soul back, so to speak, what you've done is given your will to the devil, not your soul. So you go to confession, and your will comes back to God. So, like I said, you can't sell your soul. But I didn't realize that. And so I helped 1,200 people become rock stars. I got to go to probably 3,000 concerts. I was a high wizard for 12 years. I did all the evil under the sun. You look at the 10 Commandments, look at a good examination of conscience form, because it lists hundreds of things that are sins. I was out to break all of them. Anything I could do, I wanted to break it. And I mean, there's some sins, you have a conscience. You're not going to do everything. But there's enough stuff on there to be quite the sinner if you want to be. And I wanted to be. I traveled the world. I did magic spells. Now, magic is spelled 2 different ways. There's M-A-G-I-C, and that's sleight of hand, trickery, illusion, things like that. Then there's M-A-G-I-C-K, and that's satanic magic, spelled that way originally by Aleister Crowley, one of the most evil men to ever live. So I did M-A-G-I-C-K. And so I did the 1,200 rock bands, or rock stars, 146 assisted abortions, over 100 churches split, magic for kings, queens, dignitaries, millionaires, billionaires, big money people, rock stars, actors, politicians, anybody that wanted to book me had to go through my coven. I didn't see the money, but my coven got paid handsomely for everything that I did. Then I got tired of what I was seeing and what I was doing, and I wanted to get out of what I was doing, wanted to escape. But I knew that the ways to escape out of Satanism is that you either commit suicide, or you're murdered, or you die of natural causes. And I sold my soul when I was 13, so I believed. So I thought, if I die, I'm going to hell. I don't want to go to hell. So I had to plot an escape. And I plotted my escape for about 8 months, and I escaped from Satanism. I had a doctor's appointment at a satanic doctor, and I drove to the exit I was supposed to get off on, but instead of getting off, I kept going. I drove till I ran out of gas. Then I parked my car on the side of the road. The next day, I hitchhiked a ride into town, sold my car for scrap, and got a bus ticket for Canada. Not knowing anybody in Canada, I was just looking to get away. And I got rejected at the border. And so I ended up in Oklahoma. And then when I left Oklahoma, I decided, I bought a car by now, and I decided I was going to try and get into Canada again. And I got rejected at the border again. And a friend told me about an area where you could drive over the border, but there was no border guard there. It's like, great. So I started heading that way. And I was about 2 hours away, and I got really sleepy. So I stopped on the side of the road, and I took a nap. Except instead of taking a couple of hour nap, I woke up, it was the next day. So the next day, I got in my car, and I drove to the border again. And this time, I got pulled over by a border guard. And I thought, well, there's not supposed to be anybody here. So he searches my car inside and out, top to bottom. And he tells me that he's been trying to get this job for 3 years, and today is his very first day on the job. And I realized that if I'd have driven into Canada yesterday, I'd be there, and that today there's a border guard here. God's got a sense of humor. So I drove to Burlington, Vermont. I was worth $18, and I had half a tank of gas. And I lived there for a few years. Now, Burlington, Vermont is the least religious city in the nation, in the United States. Like, you can't really be Christian or Catholic, but you can be pagan. If you want to be a shaman or a druid or a witch, you can go to school and learn those things. So I practiced magic out in the open. No one cared. I didn't want to join another coven because so many of them are connected. I didn't want that to happen. But I practiced magic out in the open. And then I got a job eventually as a manager at a jewelry store called Piercing Pagoda. And the night before I went into work, I did a magic spell. And then the next day, I came into work. This woman comes up. She wants to buy a pair of gold hoop earrings. And I present her with the perfect pair. And then she says, well, actually, I'm shopping with my daughter, and I'm going to go finish that. And when I come back, I'll buy them. And most people mean they're going to go find it cheaper someplace else. But she had an honest face. She looked like she meant it. She was going to come back. And she did. She came back 3 hours later. And 3 hours later, we do the transaction. And at the end of the transaction, I give her the receipt, and I say, if you call the 800 number on the receipt and take a survey, you might win $1,000. And she goes, that's great. I've got something for you too. And she reached in her purse. And I thought, oh my gosh, no, she's going to pull out a Jack Chick pamphlet, tell me that I'm sinning and I have to beg for forgiveness and all this stuff I can't do because I sold my soul to the devil when I was 13. And instead she pulls out a little tiny, cheap, gold-colored piece of tin. Now, it's a blessed miraculous metal, but I don't know that at the time. And she says the weirdest thing I've ever heard her say, that I've ever heard anybody say. She said, the Blessed Mother is calling you into her army. And I thought, Blessed Mother? ISIS? Gaia? I don't have any idea who she's talking about. And then she said it's very powerful. Protestants don't bless anything, so she probably represents some female deity cult. I'm not interested, but I'll swear I'm interested and I'll take it. And then I kind of tune her out, and then eventually I tune her back in. Why is she still here? She's still talking to me. And she tells me again that it's very powerful. Well, I used to be the high wizard. You know, I could have been the only one in 7 billion people. There's no way that something is going to be more powerful than me. Certainly not this cheap gold-colored piece of tin. So I stick my hand out for it, and she drops it in my hand. What I'm going to do is either toss it on the floor or slam it on my counter and tell her it's worthless. This has got no power, no mystique. This can't do anything to me. And she drops it in my hand, and I clench my fist around it. But when I clench my fist around it, my mall and my store completely disappeared. And I'm standing in a darkened void with the woman that gave me the medal, and she tells me about the magic spell I did last night and said, and that's of the devil. And then she tells me about that I split up for 100 churches, and that's of the devil. And I committed over 100 abortions, and that's of the devil. And she says about 9 or 10 other things and ends all of them with, and that's of the devil. Now, I'm terrified of this woman. I would like to attack her and get free from this, but I don't know how. What happens if I fall through this darkened void, can't find my way back to my mall? Her magic is stronger than my magic, and I'm scared of her. And then she says again, the Blessed Mother is calling you into her army. And instantly, I knew that was the Mother of God. And as soon as I realized it was the Mother of God, Mary showed up. And she smiled at me. A smile I knew I did not deserve. I was acutely aware of my 146 abortions. And she took me by the hand and she turned me around. And Divine Mercy Jesus was standing behind me. I didn't know what Divine Mercy was. I just knew that I had these rays of light going over me and under me and around me and through me. And in that instant, I knew that I had not sold my soul to the devil when I was 13. I knew that Jesus Christ was my Lord and Savior. I knew that all my Satanism, my occultism, my New Age, and my magic was false. And I knew everything Catholic was truth. And then the Blessed Mother told me that my job was to help her end abortion. And I opened my hand, and I was back in my store, back in my mall. And this woman told me where she went to daily mass, and I started going to daily mass the next day. Now, this was in January of '08. In May of '08, I officially entered the church. You know, instead of RCIA, I went to my priest, Monsignor LaValle, and he gave me personal instruction for 5 months. And I started working with St. Raphael Healing Oil Ministry with Father Joe Whalen pretty much instantly. And then I left them in 2010, and I started All Saints Ministry. And, you know, that gives me the opportunity to tour the world. You know, like I'm in Medjugorje now. And I mean, how I ended up here, I was in St. Augustine, Florida, and I travel around quite a bit. I talk quite a bit. And there I did 2 pro-life talks, 2 church talks, and 2 book signings. And I was doing a book signing in this lady's store, and she asked me if I'd ever been to Medjugorje. And I didn't hear about it until January 2008. And my whole time as a high wizard, I never heard of this place. You know, and it was definitely here. You know, I became a high wizard in '87. Never heard of this place. And I said that I would love to go, but I can't afford it. I don't have this kind of money. And she found somebody that was willing to pay for me. I have no idea who paid for me, but I'm very grateful. And then as soon as I said yes, that I wanted to come, then I had this burning desire that I had to be here. You know, like this was the #1 place on the planet. And showing up here, the peace in my heart from being here is just incredible. And I can't see. You know, I'm blind. You know, I'm blind, I'm diabetic, I'm on dialysis, I'm missing my foot. I got a lot of things going against me, but I've got the Blessed Mother for me. And with the Blessed Mother for me, nothing can stop me. Thank you very much.